You really think you're different? Man, you must be kidding. Think you're gonna hit it, but you just don't get it. It's impossible, it's not probable, you're irresponsible. Too many obstacles, you gotta stop it, yo. You gotta take it slow, you can't be a pro. Don't waste your time no more. Who the fuck are you to tell me what to do? I don't give a damn if you say you disapprove. I'm gonna make my move, I'm gonna make it soon. And I'll do it cause it's what I wanna. You're never gonna make it, you're not good enough. There's a million other people with the same stuff. You really think you're different? Man, you must be kidding. Think you're gonna hit it, but you just don't get it. It's impossible, it's not probable, you're irresponsible. Too many obstacles, you gotta stop it, yo. You gotta take it slow, you can't be a pro. Don't waste your time no more. Who the fuck are you to tell me what to do? I don't give a damn if you say you disapprove. I'm gonna make my move, I'm gonna make it soon. And I'll do it cause it's what I wanna fucking do. Cause all these opinions and all these positions, they come in millions, they blocking your vision. But no, you can't listen, that shit is all fiction. Cause you hold the power as long as you're dreaming.
There's no way that you make it. And maybe you can fake it, but you're never gonna make it. Are you just gonna take that? Make them take it all back. Don't tell me you believe that. Are you just gonna take that? Or will you fucking fight back? Fight back.
You ain't gonna make it, you ain't never ever gonna break it. You can never beat them and they're better than you, face it. Thinking that they give a damn, you're not, think a straight kid. No, they don't give a damn, you got what I'm saying? I'm not fucking playing, I'll give it to you straight, man. There's too many others and you're not that great, man. Stop what you're saying, stop what you're making. Everybody here knows that you just faking. Nah, I don't wanna hear it anymore, I don't wanna hear it anymore. All these fucking thoughts, they are not what I need anymore. I'm about to shut the motherfucking door on all you poor ass haters with your heads in the clouds, talking out loud so proud. You better shut your goddamn mouth before I do more, speak out. It's about to head south.
Never gonna make it. There's no way that you make it. And maybe you can fake it, but you're never gonna make it. Are you just gonna take that? Make them take it all back. Don't tell me you believe that. Are you just gonna take that? Or will you fucking fight back? Fight back.
You're never gonna make it, you're not good enough. There's a million other people with the same stuff. You really think you're different? Man, you must be kidding. Think you're gonna hit it, but you just don't get it. It's impossible, it's not probable, you're irresponsible. Too many obstacles, you gotta stop it, yo. You gotta take it slow, you can't be a pro. Don't waste your time no more. Who the fuck are you to tell me what to do? I don't give a damn if you say you disapprove. I'm gonna make my move, I'm gonna make it soon. And I'll do it cause it's what I wanna fucking do. Cause all these opinions and all these positions, they come in millions, they blocking your vision. But no, you can't listen, that shit is all fiction. Cause you hold the power as long as you're dreaming.
There's no way that you make it. And maybe you can fake it, but you're never gonna make it. Are you just gonna take that? Make them take it all back. Don't tell me you believe that. Are you just gonna take that? Or will you fucking fight back? Fight back.
gonna break it. You can never beat them and they're better than you, face it. Thinking that they're giving them, you're not thinking straight, kid. No, they don't give a damn, you got what I'm saying. I'm not.
I just would like you to know you sound so creepy.
And welcome to the Redeye stream number 248. This week's discussion, yeah, it's a discussion. We were supposed to have a fight, but Doku didn't want to whoop Jacob's ass. Matter of fact, Jacob never even showed up yet. Jacob, get your ass into the Discord. So Doku, what are we going to be talking about today? I'll let you introduce.
So, in short, we're going to be talking about the moral decay of the West.
All right.
In other words, why everything's going to shit.
No, fair enough. And before we dive right in, and Frank from Exiled Opinions, you guys are going to be doing a simulcast tonight on this channel and on your guys' channel, right? Why don't you tell everybody about that? See if you guys can get some play.
So essentially what we're going to do is we're going to have a quick 5-minute movie review, and then we're moving into what we have dubbed the Rotten Tomatoes drinking game, where we go through and read reviews and drink whenever time we see something stupid.
Oh, well, that'll work. Yeah, that'll work perfectly over here on MADDS Productions. We love to drink.
15 minutes after you get to that point?
Ex Mrs. Memes did that with some of the Trump-Hillary debates, and she ended up in the hospital.
Well, we have to say that on Exiled Opinions, and I think Mad Dodge would appreciate that on Mad Dodge Productions, we do not condone any actions one way or another. You are your own person. We do not take responsibility for any harm that may come to you. Drink responsibly.
Hashtag don't break the law.
Yeah, hashtag if you don't want your booze, send it to me. Anyway, let's move on to the moral decay of the West. What do you mean moral decay? We're doing fine. We have the internet. We have freedom of speech. Nobody's getting censored anywhere. Everything is all sunshine and lollipops, Doku. What decay?
Oh, yeah, nothing to see here. We're not even going to get into that censorship argument. We'll save that one. So how about this, to kick things off? Let's talk about the tribalism, identity politics, and how essentially it has pitted groups of Lord knows how many at this point in time against each other.
We've always had groups fighting each other, have we not? I mean, there's always been clashes. We're mainly a tribal people, humanity as a whole.
Yeah, to a degree. I would argue that it's a little bit different now. It used to be, I mean, it's still fighting from ideological perspectives, but since the 60s, it hasn't really been quite as fever-pitched as it is now. I mean, shit, you can't walk down the street in frickin' Portland without getting jumped if you're wearing a fucking red hat. Doesn't even have to be a MAGA hat.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Anybody else want to jump in here? Or I can continue being, disingenuous to keep the conversation going.
Maybe they don't like red hats.
Oh, yeah, no, it triggers bulls.
Are you saying that bulls voted for Hillary?
Bull dykes.
Maybe. What? No. So there were some folks on Wall Street that probably wanted the bull market that voted for her.
Come on, Memes. You walked right into that fucking lesbian joke. Give me a break,
Wait,
dude.
what?
You can't set that shit up for me.
No, but what's our level of moderation?
What's the level of moderation in the West on a whole? I mean, we go out of our way to get outrageous, don't we? We eat as much as we possibly can. We freaking drink as much as we can. Look at the people hooked on drugs. I mean, we are, always going overboard.
You're starting to kind of describe what sounds like Sodom and Gomorrah. And that didn't quite go well.
Well, do we need a little brimstone and fire? Maybe we do. MC, what do you think?
Well, you just had a video today. The Britisher. I think, they may have been yesterday. And talk about this in a manner that totally explains what's going on. Britisher. What did the Britisher do? He bitched at the Tories failing to be the loyal opposition, the moral compass to try and keep things straight. That pros in favor of politics, seen as their politicians. They never should have abandoned their politics to keep the side he constantly goes and portrays, the side he constantly roots for, labor, the one he identifies with, going off the rails. He can't even accept stems from his own group. Comes from him. In fact, he's bitching that his opposition didn't do their job, so therefore it let them go off the rails, as if somehow in a democracy, or who you were choosing, who you had selected, who you quote unquote identified with, that word, you sit up there and selected individuals that you know, and they've been doing it for decades. Then you have the video by Tim Pool. He's I think 32 is what he said he was. 32 year old man, right? Young man, in my opinion. All right. He's talking about Jim Acosta and how stupid Jim Acosta was for saying, well, there's not a problem here, standing next to a wall, right? And then getting into a Twitter war with Donald Trump Jr. Okay, I mean, I'm listening to it. I listen to a lot of stuff from Tim Pool. He gets to the point where he goes, I was working out today. I was on the treadmill, and I was watching CNN or debating with a Republican congressman, and they were arguing with the Republican congressman, saying, "You're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong." And then it occurred to me, like on their side of the aisle, like camera. Shall not be named, okay? Other hells and go, yeah, and agree with them. And I realized that they're the loyal opposition. Okay. This has been going on. CNN has acted this way inception. There was a reason we called it the Clinton News Network back when Bill Clinton was the president, something years ago. And yet here's this person who prides himself of being an open-minded and a considerate person, and he knows all this. And when he was 22 years old, he said he was way on the left, but he was always open-minded. And yet, before you realize what you've been told, you still don't want to accept it, by the way, about CNN, about who they are, about what they do. Couldn't have seen this before.
Okay,
Honey,
but
they are partisan. They are the DNC.
Well, MC, I think what you need to take into consideration here is, I mean, if we're basically just getting stuff from the news and what just folks are saying from just the general media, if that's what you're seeing, that's what you're going to know. I mean, if
no, stop right there.
If you bust out the piece of microfiche, that's got these articles.
That's bull crap. You can see and you can analyze things. Not a freaking Christmas ornament.
Well,
the people. Go ahead. I'm sorry, man.
Yeah. Here's the thing, MC. Are you trying to root the moral decay of the West squarely at the feet of the news networks?
Oh,
because that's a little bit disingenuous all by itself.
No, I'm not saying it's the news element.
No, I think what it goes for is, MC, you're coming at it from the point that there is evidence there. But here's the thing. It's like Sam Harris says. It's like that particular individual, maybe it wasn't the most important thing in the world for them. So they're like, I haven't received that information. If I received that information, dude, that's why I was like, even on Jimmy Dore posts and stuff now, he's like, there were no weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. And I'm like, didn't we find 500 tons of yellow cake uranium?
And hold on, but here's the problem. From the news media perspective, you missed my point entirely. Look at what he did. Look at the fact of what he thought he was and who they think they are. And look at what they actually are.
Yeah, but MC, the media has always had a bias.
It's not the media. I'm talking.
Everybody has a bias, though. I have a bias. You have a bias. Voice of One is an idiot and thinks Enterprise sucks.
We all have bias.
The point.
Well, here's the thing, MC. I'm getting a point here. Here's my point. That's not the moral decay of the West. And where are you going to root the moral decay exactly? How are you going to look at it? Because you can look at it from a religious aspect. As you've seen atheism rising, you've seen moral decency, dropping rapidly. I mean, you can't even say, hey, what's up, man? I don't identify as a man. I identify as a fucking ceiling fan. I mean, the shit is getting fucking out there. And that's not the media's fault. The media is a reflection of society.
Insert tranny savage meme here.
Wrong. They're
How's
not
that
a
wrong?
reflection of society. They had a reflection of American society during the Vietnam War, okay, it would have gone a hell of a lot different. Sit there and try and tell me that the media is a reflection of society. It's not.
It's supposed to be. And now with so many media outlets out there.
When did it supposed to be that way?
When you have so many different media outlets out there, you can find people you agree with and people you disagree with and see both sides of the same coin. Can you not?
Well, I think local media is, because they always say politics is local. Why would they say that? Because, I mean, if you actually get on a more localized basis, it's like, if one was to, let's say, parse the truth a little bit, it could catch up with you a lot more because things are a lot smaller because it's all communal. And at least for me, even still when I'll put on like the local news every once in a while, it's like it does seem to be a better reflection of community. If you get a much more aggregate scale, if you get on a much larger scale, well, then you're creating an entirely other entity that's often things go wrong.
Let me give you a simpler example. Let's look at the election of Jefferson over over Adams, right? The Jeffersonians read the Jeffersonian papers. The Hamiltonians read the Hamiltonian. You had completely biased people writing the news and spreading all sorts of falsehoods that couldn't be, proven at all like they can nowadays. So, I mean, you pointing your finger at the media, they're just doing what they've always done.
Why are you not listening to me when I keep telling you I'm not talking about the media?
Because you were dwelling on them. So I guess
I'm dwelling on two individuals, okay, seems to be open-minded, that they're centrists. And who take on the mantle of being worldly and erudite. Yet, when it comes right down to it, both of them are disingenuous, are self-dishonest. They are lying to themselves. Both of them look for an excuse and never look at their own behavior. What's caused the decline of the West? It started when people said, you know what? Honesty really doesn't matter.
Well, I think there's another big issue here as well, and it boils down to laziness. A lot of people, they'll see they'll see something on Fox, they'll see something on CNN, and they just accept that as truth. They don't, they're too busy working 9 to 5. Maybe they got kids to pick up, make dinner, whatever. Especially when there's a lot of single parent households, people just simply don't have time to do their own research and figure out, hey, you know what? Maybe this is a little bit of a biased spin, not entirely genuine.
There is a natural laziness to people, and that's true. And we are decadent in that regard. The fact is that when we stopped trying when we stopped trying to be honest, when we started saying there's no reason to be honest, the amount of decline really began. When people said lying is good, right? When the media came out and determined that lying was good, and they started marveling at the lies of people that they themselves supported.
Okay, that's a load of bullshit right there. Because, all right, I'm going to have to say it. I agree with MC. And we are human beings. We're made up of 80% water. We tend to go the path of least resistance.
And what does that mean for the price of tea in China?
The price of tea in China? Well, I mean, I'd rather go with a nice Earl Grey, rather.
Does that mean for the price of tea in China?
Oh, well, that's a great question. I'll have to ask Warren Buffett.
It's just mail. Excuse me, MC. I am honest to a fault.
Well, honesty often gets one in trouble. I mean, well, here's the thing. I mean, even a little kid knows. It's like, did you take the cookie from the cookie jar? No, but it's like, at some point, if you realize there's a good chance you're going to get found out anyway, and at least you can we try to self-justify everything in our heads that we say that we do. We're always trying to write our own narrative and stuff. And it drives some of us absolutely nutty bananas because we're just trying to justify things. We're like, well, I say I'm this, but I keep doing this. And I think the only way you get out there is honesty.
There's another aspect to that as well. And I've been saying this for a while, but one of the biggest issues that we have in our society, at least from my perspective, obviously, is society doesn't necessarily always reward self-reflection or honesty in general. One of the hardest things for some people to do is to turn around and admit, you know what, I'm wrong. I'll eat crow. Go take a sampling of 100 people off the street. I would be surprised if you could find 2 or 3 that would be willing to admit, especially in an argument that is emotionally charged, to look at facts and put the emotion, personal bias aside and be like, yeah, you know what, maybe I was wrong on this. That is a really rare thing because society doesn't reward it.
Well, we've incentivized going after folks right now. I mean, like, I set up my Twitter probably just about a year or so ago. And when I first hopped on, I'm like looking around. I'm like, oh, bunch of stuff. Oh, I'm following all these folks. I'm like, oh, here's a tweet about something political, something about that's nice about Donald Trump. I'm like, all right, let me make a nice little quippy comment. So and so liked your reply. Ooh, a little dopamine there, and all of a sudden, so you get some followers. I'm like, I'm going up followers fairly quickly, and then I see some things that maybe weren't the best about Donald Trump, or maybe something good about President Obama that he had done, like a program that actually went pretty darn well or something. And I'm like, I am not naming a name, and MC, I knew you would do that. Okay. I still think My Brother's Keeper was a great idea. However, basically, if I do something that I like Democrats, all of a sudden it's like, I may get some comments. I may get some folks following me.
It worked because I felt good.
MC, that we can have another debate on that another time, and I would actually have to learn about the program as well to actually communicate. But I still like the idea. But no, here's the thing: it's like you look at that all of a sudden, but then folks on the quote unquote other side, oh, I lost some subscribers. So if you're trying to actually be moderate, you're getting torn apart. You're getting a cycle of folks out there. So unless you have something else noteworthy that people give a dang about, what are they going to do? It's just we incentivize folks going to what the fuck pwn people. That's literally what we're doing, because you're going to get the likes, you're going to get the subscribers, you're going to get the shares. You're literally gaining e-fame points.
But I think that the reason for that has more to do with where we're at now rather than what we were back 20 years ago, 30 years ago. I think what you're looking at from this standpoint is, yeah, you can make that claim in right now, but that's not how we got here. We are. Yeah, we understand where we are. The question is how did we get here, memes?
Oh,
listen, how are you going to stop
the internet?
The degradation of the West if you don't know how we got here?
Well, that's what we're here for, right? We're trying to figure out what's going on. So if there's problems, we can solve.
How can you?
And there's problems.
Okay, then how can you do it without having an honest look or an honest view of what's going on?
I'm listening.
Oh, I'm asking the question. How can you do that if you don't have an honest view of how we got here? If you're not willing to listen to the other side?
Oh, well, I know that I don't know.
Specific I'm talking about here you have two individuals that aren't willing to look at themselves. They're not willing to look at self-reflection. They're not willing to take a look and say, huh. You have somebody that's been an adult.
Tim Pool and who was the other one? You don't. You can hint at if you don't want to.
A Britisher.
Oh, okay. Well, the Britisher is the Britisher, and Tim Pool does have also a financial interest, and he found a business model that worked. He mentioned it, and he's doing it. Good for him.
I don't care about the business model. Has nothing to do with how they themselves exemplify how they approached things. They've got the view of themselves. It's a highfalutin view of themselves. All right. They haven't done any self-reflection. Both of them have done a good job at times of identifying problems, all right, that they're seeing around them. But the issue behind that is you're seeing the problems around you now, but what were you doing 20 years ago? What were you doing 10 years ago when you were a supposed adult?
I think Tim Pool was playing Sonic the Hedgehog 20 years ago.
I don't care. You're an adult.
Just to touch on that a little bit more, I think a big issue is specifically talking about Tim Pool and the Britisher.
For the
there
record,
is kind of a sense.
For the record, I fucking love Sonic the Hedgehog.
They have an interesting fan base, don't they?
Speed spy.
Gotta
But
go fast.
I think a big issue is there's this sense of I don't know, moral. I won't say moral superiority. There definitely is that sense with some people. I think Tim Pool is just, I guess what you could call a fence sitter. He doesn't necessarily want to acknowledge, for the most part, negative elements, or at least not upplay them to the point they should be. I think he tries to downplay things, but I don't think he does it intentionally. But again, there is this sense of like moral superiority, or this sense of morality that they think doesn't exist amongst other people. And to some extent, perhaps they're correct, but that is an issue.
If you're getting attacked on the internet by thousands of people over the course of several years, I think that's going to start to warp a little bit of your sense of reality, especially if you're often disagreeing with people. I just think that's the nature of the internet.
Are most people on the internet? Are most people YouTubers?
No.
Are normies, right?
Well, there's like 1 billion plus people on the internet, and
we're talking
towards 2 billion.
We're talking. Most people are normies, right? In the West.
Are they?
Are you going to tell me that they're not? You're just trying to play the are they?
What does one mean?
Are most people internet savvy or not? Because if most people are internet savvy, the normie commentary come from?
That 1 billion people that are on the internet, you got to remember, like the large majority of them only really know how to send an email, watch a cat video, and maybe look up directions, and that's about it.
The average age on Facebook's like 55 now, I think.
Yeah, but who uses Facebook anymore?
Boomers.
What do they use it for?
Oh, talking to people. Because it's a cool new thing that they came across.
What they're just basically talking about their lives to other people. Okay.
Well, they weren't early adopters, MC. It's all right. It's a product life cycle.
And it's going away. In fact, fewer and fewer people are joining Facebook, right? Isn't Facebook basically a dying?
Well, well, that's why Mark Zuckerberg bought Instagram.
Well, also, even with those big tech companies, there's a reason that we're constantly against censorship. And I know MADDS is a free speech absolutist for the most part, but if you're on Facebook, you're probably not talking politics. But if you are, you're only going to get likely one side. You're going to get your own little bubble of opinion. You're not going to have anybody try to challenge you. And the second you do try to challenge somebody, like, holy shit, the fucking Spurgs go nuts. I mean, assuming Facebook doesn't completely ban you from the fucking platform to begin with.
Well, what ends up happening in those interactions with friends you disagree with, after you have the argument, what occurs?
They send you a message basically saying, please don't have an argument with my friend so-and-so because her opinions mean more than yours.
Or they'll just unfriend you, especially in the age of Trump derangement syndrome. Be like, if you voted for Trump, we're not friends.
Dude, when I log in and just a friend on Facebook. And it's like, no, I knew the gal and stuff. When she's like, if you voted for Trump, just basically delete yourself. It's just like, what's going on with like this delete this mentality? Because it seems like there's certain folks that are kind of going down a path, and if there's something there, they just have to have it deleted. It just can't exist. It's what's happening with that.
Means is that this degradation that we're talking about is far broader of scale than can be accounted for by the people on the internet.
You know, I think I can string this together pretty well for the most part. If I forget something, fill me in. But it all started with this, I guess you could call it the, well, technically the boomer generation. After World War II, society started moving in this direction of freedoms and do this, do that, you know, the suffrage movement, which is developed into, you know, fourth wave feminism, which is all about entitlements, not about equality. Anybody that thinks so is a moron. Sorry. You had the whole coming out movement, things that, you know, things that normally was like, you know what, that's your business, none of my business. Then it became, I'm going to make it your business because I'm going to constantly throw it in your face. Then you end up with an entire generation of children who grow up in a society where it's pretty much, hey, you can do whatever you want. But by the way, mom's divorced, works a 9-to-5 job. You have an after-school program and daycare. Your child's essentially raised by the fucking state. They're not allowed to play dodgeball. They're not allowed, you know, kids get in trouble for fights and all that kind of crap. They're not allowed to work out their own differences. And they're constantly thrown into this echo chamber mentality, which since the education system has been essentially usurped by a specific political leaning. And now you have an entire generation of kids that can't walk down the street and see the color red without flipping their shit. Or, you know, if you misgender them, it ends up like fucking Macho Man Tranny Savage. So now you have an entire generation of kids out there who essentially don't have the kind of life skills or social skills to actually, you know, cope with the real world. So now they have to try to change and warp society for their own personal view of it. It's very much an authoritarian mindset. That's where I think the problem stems from.
They've also, while they're in school, also get told, oh, critical thinking. Now you've heard that word, listen to what I say and do as I do. But anybody who says anything else, just say you can critic. And they like, okay, yeah, critical thinking can fucking get you a long way in a great deal of time. But if you don't have the first idea about how an internal combustion engine works, your broken down car ain't going fucking nowhere.
Well, I have a theory as well. So you know the old saying is, you know, when I have kids, I'm not gonna treat them as bad as my parents treated me, or I'm not gonna do the same things my father did, or anything like that. You know that saying?
Yeah.
Oh yes.
So I think with each generation that happens with, they try to make the difference, but instead of actually preparing them, they're enabling them to have, you know, like the whole, oh, well, you're worth something, you know, no matter what you do. It instills the whole mentality of you don't have to put in the work to reap a benefit.
But that's
the participation trophy bullshit. Like,
right.
It used to be you throw a temper tantrum at the toy store, your kid or your parent just says, all right, fine, fuck it, we're going home, you're not going to get the toy. Now the parents will buy the fucking toy just to shut the kid up because, well, I want to give them everything I didn't have. Well, you got to teach them fucking work ethic too.
It's a short-term solution for more of something that seems to have become a long-term problem.
Short-term solution for long-term problems, and it starts to exponentially increase into that problem.
Correct.
Fuck's sake, if that's also, of course, if the parents give half a shit to fucking teach them primary functions in the first place. I mean, just crossing the road is a fucking big trivial thing in Australia, to the point that we have 40-kilometre-an-hour zones at high schools because the teachers can't fucking teach them, the fucking parents can't fucking teach them. Used to be an advert on TV that used to teach them, but I don't know, I haven't seen that in fucking decades. So, yeah, like, if the parents can't fucking do it as their primary instructors, when they can't get their provisional licence and then wipe themselves out in the fucking telegraph pole, don't fucking blame me because you didn't teach them properly.
I think Optimus actually hit a nail right on the head there, because I do believe a lot of this came from just folks trying to do what they thought was right, what they want. They weren't trying to provide a better life for their kids, making things a lot easier. Because like, if things are so easy, dude. I mean, I
would agree with that, but I think you have to. But I think you also have to look at the additional fact themselves.
Well, what I'm thinking,
When I talk about honesty,
what I'm thinking is that, you know, a lot of fathers are like, I'm gonna do better than what my father did, and instead of teaching what's necessary to operate in society, instead they think what the right thing is. They're thinking, well, I never got this when I asked for it from my dad, so I'm gonna go ahead and give my kid everything that I never had, and then it instills that whole you know, entitlement process as well. You know, it's a slippery slope. It's like, instead of getting everything you never had, how about you teach them the value of it first, and then have them work for it?
But that's the materialism aspect of it. But there's another aspect of it that's far more important, in my opinion, and that is the fact that they've lied to themselves. They see no value in being honest, even with themselves, and this, to a large extent, is the result. This all goes back to the whole freaking shit of, you know, the world is what I believe it to be. You know, the reality is what I make it to be, what I believe it is, right? And it's drifted down into throughout the culture, throughout the mainstream part of the culture, into, well, it's whatever I decide and whatever I'm going to make it, to the point where people are denying reality. And then you have to accept that denial of reality. You have to turn a blind eye to that denial of reality. All right. I have brought up several different times in a lot of different areas. All right. If you really want to look at it, one of the contexts, all right, and I'm going to get moralistic right now. All right. One of the contexts is, okay, define for me, all right, someone who's a homosexual without talking about what they do.
You kind of a little up there at the end, MC, but it's just like, no, I mean, it a lot of stuff like that. I mean, it shouldn't really matter. And I think,
well, no, it does matter though. See, the thing is whether or not, and here's why it matters. Whether or not you're going to do things by ruling by emotion or by ruling by intellect. Are you going to rule yourself by emotion or intellect? Come back and say, well, I'm going to rule myself by emotion. Now you have the first step towards self-denial and denial of reality.
Yeah, and I actually agree on that part, because I always strive to rule myself by intellect. And with that part, you also have to compartmentalize whatever emotions you might be feeling at that time. It's like, okay, this had this effect on me. I got to put it in the back of my mind, complete this objective, then I can deal with that later.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, but we also have to try to account that we're human beings. We're still living, like, biologically based creatures. We're not robots, except for maybe Optimus.
Everyone understands that we're human beings. No one denies that we're human beings. People understand naturally that we are animals. All right, you don't have to be taught that you're an animal.
That's why every cunt I call a monkey gets really, really pissed off.
Yeah, you're all
the
meat
same
bags.
question. It all comes up with the same question, and I thought it was a blood bag, but okay. It comes up with the same question of, like, okay, do you spank your kid for trying to put their hand on the hot stove, or do you let your kid put their hand on the hot stove and get a 3rd-degree burn? Like, which one are you going to do? Which one's more moral to you? Personally, I'm going to pop my kid if they try to put their hand on the hot stove, because I don't want to take them to the hospital for a 3rd-degree fucking burn. But then you have the moral busybodies out there like, no, you can't spank your children. You take away the Xbox. It's like, yeah, that's going to do a lot of good after they already burned their fucking hand.
Yeah, that really worked with my last ex and her leso fucking ex-partner, and they didn't want to fucking chastise their kid either. And then it got to a point where Susan was that fucking useless that when she did try and slap the kid on the ass for lying, she ended up clipping the fucking kitchen counter and broke 2 of her own fucking fingers. And then I got in the shit for taking her to the hospital because they said I fucking did it.
Oh God.
That's
okay. Well, my internet dropped out and I'm back. But it sounds like you guys are putting the blame squarely on parents and on Western society itself. I don't necessarily think that's where the blame resides. I think the influx, especially if you look at Europe, the influx of the refugees from, let's be honest here, less than desirable nations, coming in and using our own values against us is really part of the moral decay of the West.
Well, that's
Well, and
I disagree
I
with
would argue
because they are being
that's a
let in.
symptom. Yeah, I'm going to argue that that's a symptom of it, not necessarily a direct cause. Now, let's say it's not what caused the cancer, but it's a side effect of it. Like, and again, it's this appeal to emotion. It's like, oh well, all the poor, like let's just take I forgot who it was, but somebody did a video or fucking talked about a tweet where it's like, oh, let's take in all the poor starving Mexicans. They're just trying to work. I live in LA. I'm surrounded by them, and I'm not afraid of them. If you are, you're a fucking pussy. Blah blah blah. It's like, motherfucker, do you know? Yeah, or the argument, oh, illegal aliens commit less crimes than U.S. citizens. First off, we don't necessarily know that statistic to be a fact, because guess what? They're the term the left likes to use, undocumented immigrants. How can you really attribute that? Do you citation needed? Or
yeah.
Let's look at
you get mugged and go, hang on a minute, are you supposed to be here, or you're undocumented? As if that's
or also can we get a per capita rating? Like, they never mention is it per capita? How many undocumented immigrants are even in the fucking country in the first place? You don't fucking know, because you have things like sanctuary cities.
Well, I mean, 80% statistics are BS.
Well, just on that, here's an interesting fact. Since the Liberal Party got in with Tony Abbott and Bill bloody Turncoat and fucking Scott Morrison and fucking whoever's going to be there next week, we've actually kicked out over 3,500 fucking these migrant seekers that we had in these detention centres that we let into society, and I fucking said were nothing but fucking scum and shit because they were throwing their IDs overboard so we couldn't tell who they were. And they've done everything from humble break and enters to rapes and murders. That's 3,500 in a small proportion of probably like about 40 or 50,000 people that we've let in. Now, per capita, if you include that to the rest of the country, they're a bunch of heathenous fucking scum.
Okay, but here's the thing. All right, so what I'm saying is they're using our own values against us. How are they doing that? We value immigrants, especially America. We were founded.
Who values immigrants?
Okay, every kid is taught in elementary school about the fucking melting pot, MC. We are all indoctrinated with the same fucking shit.
Bring us your poor, bring us your...
The government that you love so
much. The leftists are running the schools. This has been the problem.
Wait, the leftists created No Child Left Behind?
Yes, the leftists did that, dude.
No, the leftists created the
I thought President Bush
signed
other
that
thing.
Into law. Yeah, that
Bush
was President.
did sign that into law because it was proposed by who? You know who?
Right, Chuck Schumer.
Glorious person that you constantly talk about. That's so wonderful. Good old Teddy boy.
Oh.
It was something that he was like, okay, I'll give Ted Kennedy this. Or are you going to tell me, Mad Dogs, that Ted Kennedy isn't a leftist?
Well, you got to compromise.
Ted Kennedy is a lot of things. A liar, a murderer, a leftist, and a piece of shit. Yeah, he's a lot of things, MC.
Isn't he also dead?
Yeah. Not before he let that poor girl drown, though.
He liked a good clam chowder.
Yeah, using that band.
Memes, you can't defend that. He left that girl there and swam out of that car. Don't fuck.
It was a horrific thing. Ted Kennedy he left an imprint on this state. Do I support everything he did in his life? Oh, hell no. I mean, you're not going to agree with everybody.
Also sent a letter to the Soviet Union talking about how he would sit up there and work with them to make sure that they could rein in frickin' President Ronald Reagan.
Wait, that's treason?
He's a great, grand, and glorious man.
If there was legitimate evidence, I think there would be a trial or something.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Memes has a point. Where's your evidence for that? Because last I checked, that's treason, right? He was a senator.
That evidence came about after the fall of the wall.
Hang him anyway.
After the fact.
Well,
right?
It sounds like it may have been a moot point.
People pointed it out, and everyone went,
What are you going to do? Start an international trial? I mean, yeah, you could do that.
Memes. I mean, where is he buried? Where is he buried? We got to hang him.
Resurrecting Ted Kennedy. Let him rest in peace.
Jensen, get your spell book. Memes, show me where the grave is. We got a hang in to do.
Oh, I thought you were going to put a toilet seat over it.
No, seriously, MC, that's treason if he's a sitting senator talking.
It is treason. And they had no problem doing treasonous shit back then because they were never going to be called out on it. And they never were by the media because the media was as leftist as they were. Go on about leftists and stuff. I know a lot of you guys just kind of roll your eyes. Oh, it's always the leftists because you haven't bothered to take a look at what they've always been doing and what they've been getting away with. You guys want to go, well, I'm being hyperbolic all the time. And a lot of times I am. All right. But when I start talking about very specific incidents, there's a reason for it. There's a reason I don't like Ted Kennedy, and it's because of the treasonous shit that he did. And he's not the only one of them. And in fact, Hollywood was infested by them, and they still are.
Okay,
they never
I want
wanted
to jump
to
off
admit to
right
this.
there. I want to jump off right there. You brought up Hollywood. Doku, how much has Hollywood contributed, in your opinion, to the moral decay of the West? You there, Doku?
Sorry, I had to step away real quick.
Okay. MC brought up Hollywood. How much, in your opinion, has Hollywood contributed to the moral decay of the West?
All right, so if I had to rank everything, number one is definitely the news media. Number two is the entertainment mediums, which Hollywood. Okay, let's go back to the old school Nick at Night. What did you see? The Odd Couple, I Love Lucy, Mr. Ed. Go watch it. That used to be, that used to be standard programming. Now you have Modern Family. What is Modern Family? You got your multiracial couple, you got your homosexual couple, you have that same kind of like, oh, this is normal life, this is normal America kind of perspective look at things. And I'm not going to get into some of the weirder shit like the show from back a few years ago where like, oh, the kid burned his tongue and now he has a ball gag in it. It's like, oh yeah, that's a normal thing. No, that's not. That's fucking BDSM.
Can I just point out that show, along with Married with Children, both star Ed O'Neill?
Interesting thing to point out, but okay. But yeah, no, Hollywood plays a huge aspect because here's the thing. Just like with the news media, people are fucking lazy because by the time they get home from work, cook dinner, and want to sit down and relax, they don't want to think. Like, they're too busy in the 9 to 5, rinse, repeat, do it all over again. Or, taking care of their families and shit if they're not a single parent household, in which case, the school does more of that for them anyways. So when you see all of this kind of crap on TV, it gets normalized. You think that's, everyday life. You think that's the standard. It's not.
No, but you shouldn't think that because when I was growing up, I was taught that it's fiction because that's what it is.
But people do.
And even when you have those type of TV shows up that you're talking about, which I don't really care. I mean, whatever. What was it like back in the late 90s or whatever? Will and Grace, or I don't know.
Yeah.
The gay couple, fucking
Ellen. No. Yeah, fucking.
But no.
Ellen. Yeah,
okay, with Ellen too. I don't want you to get sidetracked, Hardy. I want to finish my thought. The thing is, though, I don't care. Let those shows be on TV. But then again, even when you give in, like Roseanne did, watch season 1 of Roseanne before they kicked her off. Wait a minute, you can't. They took it down everywhere. Interesting. But they were actually quite inclusive, and they weren't totally conservative like everybody's saying. The only thing conservative about that show was Roseanne and fucking Mr. Connor or whatever fucking voted for Trump. That's it. And then they even had Roseanne's sister Jackie flipping out on her because she voted for Trump. That was kind of a reflection of real life, don't you think? Much better than the other garbage you were referring to.
And for all of that, even that's too much for Hollywood. Like that had people freaking out just because Roseanne she voted for Trump. By the way, Roseanne's always been a fucking liberal anyway. It's only recently that she started this whole Trump thing, and I think it was just to get the fucking attention. Look at the ratings for show.
No, that's not why. That's not why. It's because they moved the Overton window. So now she is conservative because they moved the playing thing.
Perhaps that's true. I'm not going to speak for that.
With Whoopi Goldberg and stuff, because I thought there was a little dust up with her and like AOC.
Yeah, but you go
No,
back
that's
to
because she told
That's not a-
that's because she told
that's not a-
Ocasio-Cortez.
That's not a dust up of a viewpoint. Okay, that's a dust up of what's possible right now. There is absolutely nothing that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is supporting. All right, that Whoopi Goldberg wouldn't support. Absolutely nothing. The only difference is there people like Nancy Pelosi. All right, they understand you can't just screed, all right, leftism because it'll get rejected. So in order to move the ball forward, you have to lie.
Yeah, she basically told her she didn't have enough experience and she needed to calm her tits. And of course, you can't attack the fucking poster child of the far left socialist. They freaked out.
Is she lying?
She's not lying, but that's the reason.
Is this who lying?
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Oh no, that's not the point. What I'm saying is the reason Whoopi Goldberg is because she tried to tell Ocasio-Cortez, you're not as experienced as some other people are. You're not the only one fighting for the same thing, but you can't criticize them. The left eats their own. They're notorious for it. And it's a meme at this point in time, no pun intended. But back on the TV thing to touch on Madd's point real quick on the TV thing. Why do you think they call it reality television? Why do you think a lot of these shows are cast in the light of like, hey, this is normal everyday life for people? Let's just look at How I Met Your Mother. What 20-something college professor do you know lives in an apartment as nice as the one that Ted lives in fucking New York City?
Well, all I know is if folks like reality TV, then I guess our current timeline makes a lot of sense then, right?
But my point is, it puts on the, like memes would say, it puts on the lie that this is normal. This is every day. This is every normal, like average person, average America. It's not. And that's what Hollywood is. The whole thing, it's a fucking lie. It's escapism. But it's presented to you in a way that you think that would be obtainable. That's a normal everyday thing. Like everybody is like that. The only way you wouldn't is if you are the majority of people who actually sit there and look at this and it's like, huh, wow, yeah, that's not how I'm living. Maybe I should move to New York City. And then they end up fucking homeless on the street.
I'm reading the chat and Frustrated Atheist is in there. No, dude, it might seem hostile towards liberals, but we are very open here on the Redeye stream. If you do want to join the Discord, we will drag you in if you jump in the green room. Memes, you're kind of a liberal, right?
I'll be a tag team partner with you. It's just, here's one of the things. I may hang out with a lot more libertarian and some conservative folks, even if I am a bit more leftish. But that's the thing. It's like I want to hear different points that I might not necessarily agree with, because then I can actually bolster my points and see where there might be weakness and try to refine something out that might be stronger, finding a way to actually accomplish like a lot of goals that I might actually agree with Ms. Cortez on.
Well, no, and real quick, Frustrated Atheist, I do have a question for you. You can just type it in the chat. Do you think there is a moral decay in the West? This was supposed to be a debate, but one of the people haven't shown up yet, and we decided to just make it a discussion. So do you even think there is a moral decay in the West? Go ahead and let us know. MC, you were trying to talk before I cut in. Go ahead.
Oh, it still comes down to the same thing. When people started throwing away honesty, that's where you've seen a lot of this stuff go, right? When people said, you know what, you don't have to be honest. There is no such thing as reality. Reality is whatever you make it. Ever since then, right, all this stuff has gotten further and further out of control. It was intentional, and it was pushed by the left. And it was pushed by the left because they wanted to hide their agenda. People on the left knew their way to power was to lie to people about what their true agenda was. That's why when you first started clocking people before and you said, you guys are liberals. Oh, you guys are just using that as a label. It's labelism. It's just a label. You guys are just setting a label up there because they didn't want to tell people that, yeah, they were liberal. Okay, now they're like, okay, well, now that we've moved like you said, moved the Overton window, okay, now we'll admit that we were liberal. But they were always liberal. Nothing changed.
Well, isn't that just a dynamic? Isn't that like just the inverse of what we're seeing right now? How if you say you're a then all of a sudden it's like, ooh, that's not a good thing, and if you're not a liberal. So if the liberal used to be a bad thing and it shifted, it
what is
seems
the
like
difference between people who were conservative or liberal? Conservatives didn't try to hide and say I was a moderate. Show me a conservative that said that or a moderate that, or a conservative that said they were a moderate. Show me one.
I used to think I was conservative, and I always considered myself a moderate.
You're not conservative, dude. I don't think you've ever been conservative.
I used to watch a lot of Fox News.
I don't care what you watch.
That doesn't make you a conservative, but frustrated atheist. Welcome to the Redeye stream, man. Go ahead and chime in. Do you think there is a moral decay in the West?
Well, to be honest, no. I don't. As a matter of fact, if you actually look at how society has been in the last, let's just say, 100 years, you see that we are becoming more moral than we were back then. For instance, you had a point in time where you had the whole entire rule of thumb, where you could beat your wife with a stick as long as it was no wider than your thumb, and that was considered okay. If your wife did not want to have sex, but you forced yourself upon her, it was never considered rape because she was your wife and she was failing to do her wifely duties. And all sorts of other steps. All these things have become outlawed.
Yeah, but just because something becomes outlawed doesn't mean you're more moral.
That also too, what that's
like
also
if you are beating your wife right now, you would be considered to be an imp. Now, but back then,
to be an immoral person.
It was all right. No one cared.
MC, real quick. He didn't really want to jump in here because he thought we were going to be combative. So let the man get his idea out, and then you go ahead and respond.
Well, I'll let Farty do it. I kind of interrupted Farty.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is by our standards that we look back now today, we would be considered that wrong. But back then, they didn't. The thing is, morality is really controlled by society itself. If the society says this is then that's what makes it morally acceptable. And the fact that at the time they said these things were okay, then it was morally acceptable. Now, today, it's not considered okay. So it's immoral to do these things. I mean, the thing is you can look at things that happen and say that by today's standard, they would be considered immoral, and you'd be correct. But at that point in time, they would be considered moral.
But inversely, what you get is you get fucking Sheilas nowadays who will go out with cunts with tattoos all up their neck that look like they should be in a mugshot, are on fucking ice and all sorts of other stuff, and then wonder why they get stabbed or beaten or fucking set on fire with petrol. And that shit does happen because they think that they can change the bad boy and all this kind of stuff.
Well, the mentality you're describing there in the form of an archetype would be more, I think that's always kind of, I mean, I don't even say that, but it's just like certain things attract certain folks. I mean, that's to be human. We all have different things that attract us.
What doesn't help is the society also says nowadays, there's no excuse to hit a woman at all. No excuse. Bull fucking shit. I can give you 50 of them right off the top of my head.
But still, the thing, hold on, the thing that sits up there as if something is acceptable, society. The very fact that you're trying to say that no, in the past it was acceptable. No, it wasn't. But that didn't mean it wasn't acceptable.
Why would they have these things in place?
Because there was a difference in toleration back then, because people had a different view of what it took to deal with life. One of the problems that we do have really bad in this country is people think life is too easy. It's just simple peaches and cream, that life is not hard. When you're taking a look at what people are outlawing versus what they didn't outlaw in the past, a lot of it had to do with the fact of what whole term, all right, it's never acceptable to hit a woman. That's something that came about and has been going around ever since the days of chivalry, for crying out loud. All right, it's not new. All right, but to say that a guy that constantly was beating his wife or beating his wife was a problem or anything else, no, it wasn't that. It wasn't that the people just accepted it. They would look askance at it, okay, and they would try to use other methods aside from the legal system to deal with it. There was a lot more social pressure back then. It didn't require legal pressure in order to avoid these kind of actions from being a general part of our society.
Bill Burr had a massive fucking tirade about this, and like he does make the caveat that, like, you know, of course there are blokes that come home from work and just go chicken casserole and then whack whack whack. Those cunts can be dragged out in the street and shot through the. But women have also got to realise that not every ass kicking just falls out of the fucking sky.
Okay, but we're not talking about women, and I stand by it. It's not okay to hit a woman. I've always stood by that, and I've been hit by women. I never hit them back. Okay, well, here's the thing. Here, hopefully I'm still going through. It went red on me. Okay, but here's the thing.
Yeah,
maybe it's not the moral decay of Western society. Maybe it's a switch in what the morals are, because they're still being enforced by society in the same way. We still shame people. Look at internet shame.
Well,
people are being shamed.
That's also where society is going a different way. And going back to that Hollywood thing that I was trying to get on before with Ellen, you know, the whole thing with her coming out was all a big deal about, oh, it's so hard for her and all this, but every fucking 5 seconds she's jumping out of the closet going, look at me, look at me, look at me. We had gay cunts in fucking the media years and years beforehand. Just take a look at a British show called Are You Being Served? There was John Einman played Mr. Humphreys, and he was overtly camp. Everyone knew he was
fucking love Are You Being Served?
Yeah. Bloody my pussy. Anyway, fucking but it was a kind of a thing that I used to have an actual yearly award for the actor that everyone knew was a poof, but decided he was going to come out as a poof and make a big fucking deal about it. It was called the Oh No Fucking Shit Award. But now you've got the LBGTQ movement, and there's the plus part of it, which is the fucking cunts trying to normalise fucking underage sex and all this kind of shit in gay relationships.
No.
And it's just basically fucking your cardinals and shit like that. Your cunts like fucking Lindsay Amer trying to fucking get with young kids.
The plus doesn't have anything to do with from the way I may just be mishearing it because I'm using Bluetooth headphones and it comes out a little wonky on my end. But from the way you were just saying, that looked like the plus has something akin to pedophilia, and that's not at all right.
Well, that's not what I've heard, Sunshine. If you want to fucking stand up for it,
matter.
You might as well stand on the same cliff as them, as far as I'm concerned.
No. Here's where we're getting. It comes down to if it's a lack of information. If there's information that a person doesn't have, regardless of, because either they're busy, they're living their life, and there's over 1 trillion facts out there, and we're only human. We can only uptake so much at the time. And I mean, I try running 5 streams at a time, and I'm like, bit, bite. All right, I missed stuff. All right, maybe I should just focus on a single thing at once. So, I mean, I think a lot of it comes down to is just like people trying to understand each other. I realize it's a very, it's a very high goal and stuff, but dude, we have the internet. It's just, it does come down to what MC said as I think the core. Because if folks are lying and you continue to lie, you build upon that lie just a massive snowball that if all of a sudden you get exposed, all of a sudden your entire world is shattered. So it's like, and this is the thing that kind of bothers me that I don't necessarily hear a lot of folks necessarily on the saying. Like, I always hear it's like, oh yeah, no, embrace and be yourself. But if there's somebody you disagree with, if you're just going to ad hom nuke them, it's like, and this is stuff that's provoked, yes, on every side by somebody, because statistically within any community at some point, you're always going to have somebody that's going to do something terrible, because, I mean, evil is a thing, man.
I think we just all need to focus.
This is what I said to another person who had the argument about, well, I'm so semi-gay, but like the LGBTQ plus meaning pedophile thing is offensive to me. It's like, okay, just because you can suck a brain surgeon's cock doesn't mean you can cut some cunt's head open.
I think we need to focus on the real. Well, before you continue,
that point real quick.
Well,
I think we need to focus on the real question. If the government is shut down, can I walk into Area 51?
No.
No.
Because
Good luck.
they're still essential. They're still getting paid, so they can still shoot you.
You can try if you get shot.
No, actually, the military does not get paid during a government shutdown. I know because I was in the Army during the time it shut down during the Obama administration. And there was the first part of the month we did not get paid because the government was being in a shutdown.
It depends.
Paid retroactive.
Depends on who they. It depends on several things. In this shutdown specifically, they're getting paid, but because the budget for the Defense Department had already been approved. Okay, so there are several parts of a shutdown. All right, is who's getting paid and who's already been budgeted for and so forth.
Right, real quick, before we get too far off topic, I can clarify the LGBTQ thing and the pedophilia aspect. There is a group like the NAMBLA types, and then there's sympathizers within that community that are trying to normalize it. And that's where the whole argument about, it's ageism or love at any age, or you can choose who you love. There is an element within the community is trying to normalize that, but that's not representative of the community as a whole. I hate you.
And
but
that comes under
there is that
part.
aspect.
Yeah, that comes under the plus part.
Well, no, that's not part of the plus part. The thing is they want to be a part of the plus side. LGBTQ plus community is the community at large is telling them fuck no, because that's not associating with. But but the people who are into the pedophilia, they want to, but they're not part of it.
Well, you're gonna have to go and argue that with them, man, because I couldn't give a shit either way.
And I would argue that with them. I would, if I came across someone who was an advocator for the pedophilia, I would definitely argue with them about that, because the thing is,
wrong answer, sunshine. You just thump the fuck out of them.
No, that's the thing, dude. No, you're violating the NAP at that point, man. No, but no, this is something that happened earlier, like in the furry community, that several folks started covering as well, and I couldn't watch the last 8 minutes of the video. I'm just all right. I've reached a disturbed level of I'm listening
because you already spent. That's all.
Well, and that does touch on a general rule of thumb I like to live by, and I'm not saying that anybody here is like this, but if you're indiscriminately tolerant of everyone, you will inevitably invite in and tolerate people who would seek to destroy you or who you fundamentally disagree with. It's going to happen eventually.
Yeah, but Doku, though, that's kind of a misnomer, because everybody naturally discriminates, whether you realize it or not.
Yeah, it's demonized socially as this thing, like discrimination is bad. To an extent. Discrimination is bad, but
if you don't discriminate at all, then why is Tom your best friend and you can give a fuck less about Dale? You know what?
Yeah, well, I'm just making the point that blind tolerance is not a good thing for an individual or society.
On MySpace.
Well, only you would bring up MySpace. Thanks for reminding me of my age, memes. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I thought the first dude who messaged you on MySpace was the bloke who owned it, just so he could have more friends.
He was Tom, yeah.
That was Tom.
One of the funny things is about Tom, though, is somebody, he had made a post somewhere, and someone sat there and says, someone commented and asked him, it said, you couldn't even keep a business running, so why should we trust you on anything? He's like, yeah, you're talking to the guy who sold MySpace for millions of dollars, for like $1 million, and doesn't have to work another day. He's like, while you're over here flipping burgers. Gotcha.
Ooh, I was like, a nice little BTFO.
Yeah, I was like,
if I've ever seen it.
Yeah, I was like, damn, Dom's over here just destroying people.
Yeah, Tom's savage.
But Frustrated Atheist, I don't really talk to you that much, and definitely don't talk to you about politics very much at all.
No.
Okay, you don't really see a moral decay in the West. What about these no-go zones in Europe, man? I mean, you're an atheist. You don't like these outrageous Muslims coming in and creating their own laws either, do you?
As far as it depends on what you're talking about. Are you talking about these are Muslims that are going into, say, like England and taking over a community and making up their own laws type of thing? Or are they doing it the normal democratic way where they do take up a community and just start electing their own officials into office?
No. It's the parts of France where even the French police say that they're not going into it because they need to have 27 coppers go in for a domestic dispute.
Oh, fuck no. That's something that should, in my own personal opinion, I don't think that a cop should ever not be able to go into a place just because of the group that's in there, regardless of if they're religious or not. I do find Muslims to be one of the more harmful religions there are. I definitely would not let them alone to their own devices in areas where they could eventually take over the entire community and start doing things like enforcing Sharia law and things like that in those areas. If they're just minding their own business, then by all means leave them be. But if they're actually doing wrong things, no cop should not be able to go in those areas.
Well, I have a question for a frustrated atheist. How do you feel about the clause in the UN Migration Pact that would potentially make it a crime to criticize immigration regardless of who it is, religion, or where it's from, whatever? Ed.
I do have an answer for that, but go ahead.
Wait, can you repeat the question real quick?
So in the UN Migration Compact, that was a recent topic of discussion, there's a clause that would make criticizing immigration illegal, regardless of the region, the religion, the people in question.
The thing is my whole entire thing on that is that religion in itself should be criticized, period. And even the lack thereof, if you have a bad idea, it needs to be criticized, regardless of where you are. So if they're trying to say that no one can criticize any immigrant because of their religion, in my aspect, that I find ridiculous. If they're saying to not attack the individuals themselves, then that'd be one thing, and I'd be all for that. But if you are attacking religion or their ideas or whatever, then by all means, that's free game.
Well, that's why we frame that within freedom of religion and freedom of speech. That's the whole point of the First Amendment. You have the freedom to practice whatever religion you wish, but other folks also have the ability to criticize ideas that may come up.
Okay, there's a problem with that. And you're ignoring the big glaring thing, which is, okay, the Constitution says you can practice your religion, except that when the religion violates the Constitution. All right, there are times when the religion and the religious practices violate the Constitution. Right. Islam specifies a theocracy.
Hey guys, I'm sorry. You have to go. I have to go. I'm about to go pick up my stepson. So
basically, the answer to
real quick. No, Farty, real quick. Frustrated atheist, please stick around in the server, man. I want to talk to you again sometime soon. Thank you for joining.
Right, the answer to Doku's question basically is more along the lines of what Europe is doing right now. It's funny how that they criticised us for doing what we did with the migrants, yet they're now actually starting to do exactly the same things as we are. They're sending the boats back to where they came from. They're going to start fucking giving training to the Libyan Coast Guard and certain other Middle Eastern coast guards, and then actually looking at trying to fucking palm off some of these migrants to places like Turkey. So they're actually doing the same thing as what we are, and this basically says just exactly the same as every time the UN says something, that it's absolutely fucking useless. There's no point in the UN even fucking speaking because they're just fucking, yeah, okay, whatever you reckon, we'll go do our own.
Oh, I understand that, but specifically when it comes to Islam and when you're talking about Muslims in the United States, very specific, tenet in Islam that specifies that the clerics will sit up there and be the judges. that tenet in and of itself is completely at odds with the Constitution. So the idea that you have freedom of religion, all right, and that it supersedes the Constitution, like if you don't specify that to people. Well, we can go back to taking a look at certain religious practices that initially were not allowed. For example, some of the Native American practices, when it came to doing drugs, were banned and outlawed. The practice of polygamy is outlawed in every state in the Union.
Well, you actually need to follow the framework of the Constitution. Oh, I agree with that. Sorry, MD, but it's just what's going on here is, I mean, if you're becoming a United States citizen, aren't you swearing an oath to the nation?
Well, you don't
like
swear an oath anymore. Right? Well, no, you don't really swear, well, maybe when you immigrate, but they don't even pledge allegiance to the flag anymore in school. So none of the kids growing up are they're not necessarily pledging.
There is a pledge.
Yeah, I know. A lot of my kin refuse to take said pledge, MC. But no, here's
your
the thing.
Kin take that pledge, or they didn't vote.
They probably didn't vote. Unreconstructed, my friend. Unreconstructed. Okay, so here's the thing, though, MC. I actually agree with you, and I would say this goes back to what we were talking about yesterday with sovereign citizens, right? These people are immigrating to a country that's not their home country, and then they're grouping together in enclaves, completely separating themselves from the surrounding community and pretty much policing themselves, having honor killings and shit like that. That is illegal, and that is not necessarily a moral decay of the nation as a whole, but it is in Europe. Look at those countries, man. And Jacob, I don't know if you're peeing or what. Did you just show up late just to pee on my stream?
Oh, no. Crap. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard you.
No, I thought... No, that's me washing my hands real quick.
Oh, you just look amazing.
Yeah, because I had no idea what was going on. Yeah, sorry about that.
Redeye stream. Welcome to the Redeye stream.
Yeah.
You're late to your
sorry for coming in
show, and you
I know,
shit on it.
I know.
Anyway,
I know my Wi-Fi has been shit lately, and it's been messing up on me. I have no idea what the hell's been going on, but yeah, guess I have to call the company and see what the hell's going on with that.
It's all good. I award 10 points to Slytherin on your behalf. Anyway, you're late to the show.
Dude, I know. And
no.
Here's the thing.
I'm going to lead off with a question here. I'm going with the question.
All right.
Do you believe there is a moral decay in the West? This was originally supposed to be a debate. So I'm guessing you're of the idea that there isn't.
What was that? My idea? Oh, no. I do think there is a moral decay.
Okay, if you think there's a moral decay, why do you think there's a moral decay?
All right. So first of all, let's see what we have today. So far, we have celebrities pretty much openly dressing up really slut-like, singing about sex openly. And also as well, talking about killing, that's mostly with the rappers.
What about
a lot of times,
what about treasonous remarks like with fucking Madonna and fucking Kathy Griffin and shit?
Well, yeah, I suppose that could be considered that as well. So I think that's a little bit separate, but yeah.
Or even better, how about the media propping up that the drag kids, like what was the one, Lactatia?
Yeah, it's Lactatia, and oh my god, what was the latest one? Macy Luke or Lucas?
Something like that.
Yes.
Yeah, the fact that the media finds that acceptable. I mean,
yeah.
Oh no, there was a point earlier. Yeah, there was a point earlier somebody made where like I think it was the news outlet should be a reflection of like society. What about entertainment and Hollywood? Shouldn't that be a more accurate reflection of society?
Well, when during this week, well, when we were getting ready for what was supposed to be a debate till we changed that, I did find a video because you and me talked about this in chat before. How as early as the 60s we could see more of a push for degeneracy from Hollywood. I do have some things written down if you'd like to hear it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I would like to hear your points. I'm just gonna make an aside. Even back in the 60s, it was, again, the movement was kind of about acceptance or trying to be tolerant. That has shifted. That has shifted as things have progressed, where now it's becoming about tolerance. You can't criticize this because if you're either homophobic or you're Islamophobic or you're xenophobic, and you can't criticize these things. I mean, you're a quote unquote protected class. And at the same time, these groups of protected people who provided these social entitlements. It used to be like, don't ask, don't tell. It used to be none of my business, so don't ask, don't tell. Now it's the same group of people who want to make it your business. I don't want it to be my business. You're trying to make it my business. I don't care. But they wear it on their, and this is the problem with identity politics. They wear these identities on their sleeve like it's some sort of badge of honor.
Yeah.
Dude, just because you're different doesn't make you special.
Just real quick, Jacob, something you mentioned before about sluts and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, there's a politician in Australian Parliament called Sarah Hanson-Young who's basically fucked her way straight through. And now she's jumping up and down going that she's being slut-shamed and all this, and she's actually using the term slut in Parliament. Now, we never had that 20 years ago because the women in Parliament just shut the fuck up and did their bloody jobs. They weren't running around fucking everybody and then going, oh, he called me a slut because I fucked everybody but him. Oh, don't slut-shame me, don't slut... Oh, act your age, woman.
Just because you might be unique does not mean you're useful.
Well, here's the thing. I'm not too sure. I don't know that much, well, almost nothing literally about Australia and its history with the politicians, but who knows? Maybe behind the curtain, these women were doing that shit. They were not open about it.
Oh, no. It used to be a case of Margaret Thatcher. She got everywhere that she did without having to spread her legs for any cunt. And most of the female politicians we've had before, you wouldn't want to fuck them either.
And that's the thing. There's this push from the identitarians at the identity politics bullshit, where, to be honest, it's not my business. It shouldn't really be my business unless there's an explicit reason for it being so. But you're actively trying to make it my business, and I'm sorry, you don't get special treatment just because of who you choose to lie in bed with. Like, I'm sorry, that's not a qualifier.
Well, I don't think this is really about... Quick. Hold on. I don't think this is really about identity politics, because you and me have been looking a little bit into this ourselves, right? And as I looked into it with these 1960s films, this is more of a push for a social norm. First, most of them have written down is all this cheating and divorce that's being promoted in these Hollywood films, and a little bit. Some of these are as well from Britain. Got titles like The Apartment, and this guy lets his bosses rent out his apartment. That way they could go ahead and cheat on their wives. Got Darling. Basically, two couples get divorced after cheating on each other. Diana goes on pretty much a sex craze. Gets married again. She's on her husband again. Yada yada yada, and just keeps on going like that. Divorce American style. These are just some. These are,
and I mean, hell, now we even have websites like Ashley Madison.
What the hell is that?
That's a website for basically for people who would have cheated on their spouses.
Oh shit!
Yeah. Okay, so I want to jump back backwards here to where you were saying identity politics and all that. And yeah, pun intended, this might be an exiled opinion, but isn't the smallest group of people in America really the racist people? So if you want to protect a minority class, why don't you protect the dumb racists? You know, give them the right to say their stupid shit so we know who the fuck they are.
Well, you know, okay, I'm gonna, Mexican, whatever, the contributor to Geeks and Gamers, Mexican dude. He made, there was a video, I think it was yesterday. See? No hablo. But no, he posted a video the other day where he said there's two sides of the coin for racism. There are the people who, you know, like you're white supremacists, that we'll just go with that because it's easier to explain it that. The group of people who think for whatever reason, and any race, white, black, Asian, Hispanic, whatever, you have the ones who view the lens of race from a superiority aspect, and then you have the other group who view the lens of racism like, oh, you're lesser, you needed to be protected, you know, the bigotry of low expectation. You know, Fox News did a great video where they went through, I think it was actually Berkeley, where they asked, like, are you against voter ID laws? And they're like, oh, yeah, because they might not have access to a computer, know how to use the internet, or know where the DMV is in regards to African-American citizens. Then they went to the Bronx and asked a bunch of African-Americans, do you have an ID? And, like at least a third of them thought it was a joke. Like, are you fucking stupid? Like, I use the internet every day at my work. I think almost every single one of them knew the exact address of the DMV. Mm-hmm. So it's like,
well, no, and again, you know what the stupidest part about that argument is, really, Doku? I'm sorry to cut you off, but it's so stupid. Remember the Obama phone? You know, some areas of the country didn't get a cheap ass fucking throwaway. They actually got a fucking smartphone when they signed up for that. So
yeah, they got like
people,
iPhones and shit.
Yeah. A lot of these people got given the access to the internet by the government, and then the government's like, oh, it's too hard for these poor people to register to vote.
I can explain that. You see, like, most of those Obama phones came out of evidence lockers and were stolen by black people in the first
all right,
place.
Am I back? All right. Oh my god, I accidentally cut myself out. I was not paying attention right now where I have my thumb. Feel like an idiot.
As long as it's not up your bum.
All right.
Yeah. So what were some of the other points? Because
points. Oh
yeah, I mean we have Hollywood in the aspect that it.
Oh yeah, I do have something else.
Hold on a second. Let's talk about Hollywood for a
second. Yeah. Go ahead.
First of all, Hollywood has always been trying to push agendas from. They've always been a propaganda outlet.
Well, a lot of the films I mentioned were from the late '60s, which during this time divorce started to increase.
Well, they were trying to normalize divorce.
Yeah.
Because in Hollywood, divorce was quite common. We're trying to do that, though. You said the '60s? Please.
Yeah. Well, at least
the '40s. All right, you can take a look at several of the Katharine Hepburn, Spencer Tracy films from those days, and you'll see what they were trying to push and the kind of agendas they were trying to push. If you really want to start taking a look at it, Breakfast with Tiffany's, which is a famous song, but also if it's a movie, is based exactly what you were talking about, where people were having, you know, the idea that these big executives were having two apartments, and they would you know, sleep with their mistresses in there, and they would share the apartment with the other executives and stuff. But they've always been pushing that agenda. It's always been a propaganda outlet. Prior to World War II and into World War II, where the government used that as a propaganda tool and a propaganda outlet. Those things have always been used that way. It's nothing new that what Hollywood was trying to do was drive an agenda. But you can go back even further on before you had the visual medium, all right, to where people were writing book stories. Uncle Tom's Cabin was written specifically to call out the frickin' heinous actions of slavery. That's what it was written for. It was an attempt to drive a conversation, drive a point. The biggest difference, though, was when we shifted to a video medium, it is so much easier to engage emotion than it is intellect, which is why for the leftists who don't want to discuss things, who don't want to talk about it from an intellectual perspective, who want to sit up there and moralize their own way, okay? And it goes back to there's several other different ways where they want to engage the emotional context. That's how they argue things. Of course, it became pushing honesty.
Okay.
You see it expand.
Dude, you're cutting out every few seconds, man.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I don't know why.
It sounds like you're talking to someone with hiccups. And then I went down. Then he went.
I don't know why that's happening. Maybe something's too far open. I'm gonna have to close some things, so I might be back.
No, I can see where you are going on with, and like I can give an example. Like there's these military type movies called I like to call them showcase movies, and one of the best examples of it is like The Final Countdown. There's other ones like the Strategic Air Command, and there was another one, Fighter Command or something like that. But anyway, the Strategic Air Command one was more of the Cold War kind of look at our bombers and look at what they can do and all this kind of stuff. It was showcasing the B-36 and the B-52. In The Final Countdown, it was a loosely veiled story just to show off all what a Nimitz class aircraft carrier can do. Like, they had the bit with we'll launch the Tomcats, and hang on, there might be something out there, so let's launch the Hawkeye and put a radar out there, and hang on, there might be submarines in the areas, and let's launch our Grumman tracker, and the Tomcats need more fuel, so let's launch a fucking Grumman intruder, and then they can go out and refuel them. And, basically just it was a loosely veiled story just to show exactly what went on with an aircraft carrier, and that was propaganda. Join the Navy.
I know
Top Gun was even another thing there too, and a lot of the actors from Top Gun have had a lot of shit given to them by fucking people who joined the Naval Air Service afterwards because of the movie. And it's like, I only fucking joined because of you, you bastard, and it was shit.
Well, speaking of all this, you could say moral decay. Doku, you remember Yuri Bezmenov? I mentioned him before.
Iridescent Esmanov? Did he
glow in the dark? Yuri Bezmenov. He's a former KGB member, or agent. There's 2 videos of him on YouTube.
Real quick, can you guys hear me?
Yeah. All right. So Yuri Bezmenov, both of the videos are on YouTube, are more or less the same, going over what it takes to subvert a nation. And a couple of the methods are influencing, infiltrating, and propaganda. And he lists a couple of areas that it happens at: religion, education, social life, administration, law enforcement, military, labor, and employer relations. But one thing that I think he didn't really account for was media. Perhaps he didn't think about it or never consider it, but we see it right there in our own media, how they push this stuff. Say, yeah, go ahead, have this free sex. Yeah, go ahead, take this drugs. Do what you want. But mostly what he says is, I would say, is pretty accurate. What happens first, they push something towards the public just in a tiny bit, just a little bit of a nibble, just to see how they like it. You could say, how do you say, you start with drugs. First they do something, like portray the drug dealer, of the criminal who's dealing with drugs. They portray him as an innocent man, good-looking guy, has good morals, but is policed for a bad. That's been going on for way too long now in many movies.
It's my argument against the underbelly argument. We had a criminal out here called Mark Chopper Reed, who was a complete fuckwit, but like he was immortalized in the movie, and everyone thought he was great to the point that they were all wearing handlebar mustaches. Until the point I started giving them shit about, hey, you know, poofters do that too. Look at the fucking that poof band. I can't remember in YMCA cunts. But yeah, they were basically, you know, glorifying the underworld in that TV series, and lots of cunts trying to emulate it, and had every dickhead and their son fucking coming up to me going, "Oh, I knew someone in Underbelly," and it's your bullshit, dickhead. You're too fucking young for a start. I remember it the first time around, which is why I didn't watch the fucking TV show. The Breaking Bad sort of scenario there too, you know, fucking the monkey who's the lead character in that. Oh, I've got to idolise him because he's a fully sickest fucking cunt in the planet. So he's a fucking ice dealer. The cunt should be fucking thrown off the fucking tallest, nearest fucking cliff as fast as you could possibly do it, just on principle.
I mean, I would say look at modern hero movies. They humanize the villain a lot. Sympathetic. You sympathize with them. When they're supposed to be the villain, you're supposed to hate them.
No, Jacob, though, that's good writing. There's nothing wrong with a good story.
Well, no, I'm not talking about per se good story. More or less, we can see that what's supposed to be the villain, we still humanize them. I mean, a bad guy is supposed to be a bad guy. Yeah, in real life, we have nuance, but a lot of times we do see a lot of people that are just not good. Who are willing to commit acts of violence, murder, without hesitation.
No. Every villain is a hero in his own story. Look at Winston Churchill, for God's sake. A lot of people would say he was a warmongering monster. Wouldn't they, Jensen?
Not really.
Not more or less. No, No. After Churchill, from what I was reading in high school, they would glamorize him.
That's right, but he's also he was a warmonger, and right after World War II, he got voted out. Right, Jensen? I'm looking for the Englishman here.
Yeah. No, you are right, mate. That was what they accused him of being, which is appalling when you work on the idea of he helped us through one of our worst times, and they treated him like that.
Yeah, he did what he needed to do, exactly the same as Margaret Thatcher did what she needed to do during the fall.
But what they crucified him for was wanting to fight the Russians.
Well, they crucified Margaret Thatcher because she took the milk money away from children. Tomatoes. But yeah, going back to what Jacob was saying, sort of what I was touching on there too, with I come from an old school Victorian style background where, like, you know, you don't really talk about what goes on behind people's bedroom doors and stuff like that. Sure as shit, no bastard wants to know what I like to fuck, even though it's just the most normal, mundane thing on the planet. Everyone seems to think that that's, you can't talk about that. So why the fuck do I need every lezo and poofter and, lezo's like, oh, I love the munch carpet, and every shit stabber fucking going, oh, I like to visit Vegemite Valley. Like, I don't fucking want to know. Why do I need to listen to this shit? Why do you cunts need to fucking go spreading it everywhere when no bastard wants to hear the vanilla shit that I go on?
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. Shit cut out for me. Don't know why.
But can't you just change the...
I'm talking about in society in general, like, you know.
Well, I mean, if folks want to show, like, public displays of affection, I mean, that's just an issue in and to itself. Some folks are okay with it. Some folks aren't big fans.
But when 2 years ago we actually had a public referendum to gauge everybody's opinion on the subject, should we let the poofs and the lesos get married and all this kind of stuff? And if you don't vote yes, then you're a fucking homophobic arsehole, fucking bastard, cunt-faced prick, and you should fuck off and die. So hang on a minute.
Yeah.
You don't give much of a fucking choice in that now, do you?
Well,
Yeah, I think it was
use the courts.
It was 2 years ago, I believe. Barron had mentioned it on his channel, which was the only way how I found out. And how many votes were there for yes and no?
Well,
for allowing gay marriage.
Well, you know what the funniest part is? Is that we're supposed to get our postal voting stuff in the mail. I never got mine.
Actually, here's something funny that somebody just sent me that you guys should get a kick out of. It says, oppression isn't hearing a word that offends you. Oppression is being told you can't say certain words because you'll offend someone else.
Yeah, that's being offended on someone else's behalf. That's what most people fucking do nowadays. I mean, like, a lot of the times you hear about fucking some cunt getting oppressed in some places because someone says, no, you can't do that because so-and-so might not like it. Well, fucking, if so-and-so didn't like it, he can come and fucking say it to me face. You can fuck off, on the other hand.
Well, we've taken it to a level beyond. Like in the case of Count Dankula, it's like, yeah, he made a video that to many, it was offensive. However, there was no complaint registered.
To who? Give me a list of who it was.
Maybe some folks that he was talking about gassing in that.
Wait a minute. No, Farty, no. I'm not letting memes get away with this. Okay, first off, they didn't even see the goddamn video. He was about the size of our channel or smaller before they started showing that goddamn thing around memes. He didn't offend anybody, and you fucking
MD. So I'm MD. As I finish the sentences that were coming out of my mouth, no one was offended until the Scottish Police Department edited his video, completely transforming the message. And then showed in front of a Jewish community group, and like, well,
now, yeah, this is one thing I've actually had an argument with some Jews and stuff like that because I had an old echelon bag and had a swastika on it and all this kind of stuff. And the cunts fucking that sign's offensive to me. And I'm like, what, the old Christian cross? And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, and I explained it to them. And I said, now, firstly, that's the old Christian cross, and I don't give you shit about your religion, so why are you giving me shit about mine? You think it's yes, I told you, it's a Christian cross. Now, secondly, if your grandmother come up to me and said that she found it offensive, I might give half a shit. But since you are nowhere near the fucking gas chambers or Nazism or anything like that, because you're 12 years old, shut your fucking mouth. And they actually apologised for offending me.
Well, no. Do they say that shit? No, Farty. Do they say that shit to the Hindus who still use that symbol?
No, they don't. They don't say it to the Koreans or the Chinese or every other bastard that uses that symbol too. Oh, and Hindus are Indian. Yes, right.
Of course, this is all intentional. I mean, no one can. I don't think anyone can really say otherwise. That this stuff is literally intentional.
Well, I mean, we've incentivized it because if you go out there and you make some very moderately stated statements and stuff, you might get a little crazy, but you're not going to get as much as if you go completely almost nutty bananas at times.
No, what I mean is, over the years, for I guess several generations, how PC politically correct has our societies gone? Pretty far. It takes a small little step. And to go,
people want change. People are doing change. Here's the thing, dude. As long as they're not breaking the law,
change isn't always
should be
good.
More direct about things.
Change isn't always good.
Oh, that's very true. But entropy is an eternal thing. Things will always change. That's the thing. It's just we always like to think like, all right, we're going to hit the point, and it's just going to be maximum utopia here, dude. It's like, that might be a nice thing to try to strive for, but you realize if we want to try to accomplish something like that, that's something we ain't never going to see during our lifetimes. And I think it comes back down to the perspective of things, because back in the day, like not that many hundreds of years ago, folks used to build like big, beautiful cathedrals that would take them upwards of 300 years to construct. And the folks that started that started that, busted their ass for something that they knew they would never actually see completed. The folks during the middle of that knew that there was a good chance they wouldn't even see it completed. So you literally have multiple generations before a project is done. And you look at these and we consider them like works of art because it was done by mankind that actually had a goal that for something that was greater than the individual in and of itself. They were working towards something that they knew would be done. It seems like we've lost that too much rather than trying to like build for the future. We're just all about the now.
Well, means that sort of goes along with what I was going to say. All right, Doku, Yuri Bezmenov. I already told you a little bit about him. What he said starts out with influencing certain areas in society. So what happens is that they start corrupting areas like religion, education, so on. And yeah, we have seen that. Some could say, oh, it's way before that, like with the Catholic Church. And say, yes. What we start seeing with religion, all right, we start seeing more about priests raping children, start getting more anti-Christian. Good reason, bad reason. Well, for the most part, it seems like a bad reason to do so over what was mostly a small minority of Christians, the quote-unquote radicals. Then what happens with education? We start getting these very Marxist professors in most of our schools. Well, first starting out with the college.
Well, doesn't a lot of this come down to mimetic? I think it goes back to kind of what Optimus was saying. Like, if folks are trying to be good people, and I stand by that, most folks are good people. So if you have folks actively coming out and promoting a platform, even if you guys disagree with it, dude, and I ain't saying that there are instances where what you're saying is absolutely true. I'd say I would disagree with the scale. And again, I have absolutely no data on this. I've listened to many people, and I think we like to overemphasize the level of demon another human may be at certain times, especially if we vehemently disagree with them. And there are things we can vehemently disagree with.
Means this is not just about one individual. This really isn't. As I was saying,
I'm saying, no, it affects everything.
It starts out with certain places. And this guy, Yuri Bezmenov, he was going over that. He's going over this stuff. Starts saying, hey, they strike this place, they move on to this next step, move on to this one. This is the final step. It's just how it goes.
Which step are we on? I didn't watch the full 3 hours yet.
All right, first thing he starts out with is subversion. All right, that's where he starts out with. And if I knew we were going to go a little more into detail with what he said, I would write down some more. So that's more on my part.
Well, no, it's fine. And we're just under 20 minutes left, Jacob. So you jumped in a little bit late.
My phone right there too.
No. Well,
I have
no,
to take responsibility for
whatever. It's all good. It's all good. I'm just gonna throw you a couple of the questions I threw out earlier. We had Frustrated Atheist jump in for a little bit. He's under the assumption there is no moral, that we need to. I'm not trying to put words into his mouth, so take this with a grain of salt. But it sounded like he was saying we need to be all inclusive, and really there is no moral decay. Fuck up, Buttercup. Right?
I think what he was trying to communicate, at least what I took away from, is depending on how you're framing this. If you're going over the past 100 years, which is what he was saying, the number of improvements in society and everything is ridiculous. Like I'm pretty sure everyone here, the United States, the UK and stuff, dude, we're part of the 1% compared to the entire world. Like we've got it pretty good.
Okay, financially.
There are massive differences within that as well.
Well, financially we're okay. But socially, we're not. And it's been getting worse year after year.
Mm-hmm. I don't necessarily know if that's the case.
Look at what we have so far.
You brought up infidelity. There's always been infidelity.
Not to this extent. Matt?
I would say infidelity was higher then because you weren't allowed to get divorced. So infidelity rates might have gone down while divorce rates have gone up.
Well, just on that, I'll bring up the Simpsons episode where fucking Apu and fucking Mint Julep got fucking married. They're at the thing and they're like, "You sure you really want to do this?" And she goes, "Ah, well, if not, we got divorce." Yeah, well, okay, and that just as you're going to do the whole for love and sickness and poor and health and all this shit forever and ever. Oh, we've always got divorce. Kind of makes it a bit disingenuous before you even start, doesn't it?
See, I don't even know if it would be if you could make the argument that it's gone up in terms of frequency, but it's the normalization of it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Like
Is
it's
it the
socially acceptable.
normalization, or is this something
yeah.
we're just noticing more because we have the internet?
No, it is the
No.
normalization because before we
Yeah.
had the internet, we had fucking Ellen DeGeneres normalizing lesbianism and all that kind of stuff, and then we had Will and Grace and things like that.
Okay,
Now it is
okay.
normal,
I get it. I
and
get
then-
it.
And then going to the plus part of the fucking LGBT KFC thing, fucking yeah, they're trying to normalize it that way.
Well, yeah, before
get it.
I believe our society would push that back, it would still be there, but they make it to the point where you don't really see it all too often.
Okay, but I get it. All right. And you probably don't like my stance when it comes to gay marriage. I voted in favor of it when Oregon put it up to vote. Before they went to the Supreme Court, Oregon had already legalized it, and I voted in favor of it. Because it's none of my business who marries who. It doesn't matter to me, but I digress.
Oh, you put the vote to the folks.
Well, no, I digress because you digress. Now I'm going to get back to the point. The thing is, though, there's always been infidelity, and if you look at it, when you were forced to be married to the same person forever and divorce was actually illegal, me and my wife, she's my second wife. I would still be stuck with the whore that was banging my fucking friend. Like, I wouldn't have been able to divorce that bitch. Are you telling me that would have been better? That helps with the moral decency of the world?
Well,
No, Matt, we're talking about more or less within the 100 years, 200 years. All right, look at America. Divorce rates were not as high as they were back then. There were actually whole families, good families, and kids were not as troubled as they are today.
Hey, yeah, but Jacob, I'll tell you what, dude. I am not fucking mundane Matt or one of these other motherfuckers. I'm not going to stand by while some other dude bangs my fucking wife. Like, I'm going to divorce the dumb cunt.
Of course.
You know, maybe that's why divorce rates are up.
No, I have a point to make here, real quick. I'm an absolutist on this one when it comes to separation of church and state. If there's an ordained priest, a pastor, minister, whatever, who wants to marry somebody, it's not the government's fucking business. Every time the government sticks its nose into something, it becomes inevitably political, and that's part of my argument on the decay of Western society, moral values, things like that. Because who is the fucking government to be the moral arbiter of things? They're not. It's all political, and almost every politician is in it for personal gain. So fuck that. The government. It's none of the government's business.
Here's my argument on the whole gay marriage thing, right? Okay.
No. We only got 13 minutes left, dude.
No, just real quick, right? Fuck it. The main part of the whole gay marriage argument in Australia was that they needed the whole marital rights and all this kind of stuff. So if the fucking Cecil fucking dies on Cyril, then fucking he gets to have the will and all this kind of stuff. No, you can still will things to anybody you want. You don't actually need to be married. All this really is just Cecil and Cyril are going to fucking be with each other for about 10 years, maybe adopt a kid, and then fucking go through divorce courts to try and fucking annul the marriage when they finally figure out they fucking hate each other, and then put some poor kid in the midst. They don't need that. But that's exactly what's going to happen though, and it already has happened several thousand bloody times since we fucking legalized. But back in the day, if Cecil didn't like Cyril, you just part companies and go, all right, I fucking hate you now, and say to you, well, we'll just go our separate ways. It was easier before.
I know, but here's my rebuttal. They have the right to be just as miserable as I am, damn it. Anyway, moving on to what Toku was saying. No.
Okay, no, I was about to say, go on, dude.
Yeah, Doku, dude.
All right.
I don't want the government involved in anything, but if you're saying there's a moral decay in Western society, how do you fix it? If not the government, because that's what they're going to tell you. Have the government make mandates. Have a big, prohibition type pushback from the conservative side, and that's not the way to fucking go either, dude. I'm too libertarian for that.
Oh, and I'm arguing against government. Like, I want as small of government as possible. So, no, I'm on the same page. Like, the government's not going to fix it. It's going to make it worse.
If everybody's able to do what they want, but Doku, if everybody's able to do what they want, which is what you and I would argue, then who is it anybody else's job to tell me what's moral and what's not?
Again, it's a societal thing, and that's where you start getting into the thing. Well, like I said earlier, about an hour or so ago, there are three entities that are primarily responsible for the moral and societal decay of the Western. Number one is government, because government has the power of law and the power to enforce law. The other two are the news media and entertainment. When things become normalized through society, what impact does it have on society? What Hollywood, the news media have been pushing has not had a positive impact on society. It's like the appeal to emotion when it comes to immigration. Like I was saying earlier, oh, the poor, starving immigrants from the third world. It's our moral obligation, our moral duty to take care of these people and invite them in, accept them in with open arms. Or like with the parents, give my kid everything they never had. They don't learn how to work ethic. They don't have a work ethic. They don't learn how to assimilate. It's this appeal to emotion. It's the push that has been coming from these entities, these social structures that have caused the moral decay. And it's not exclusively the left or the right, but it is primarily coming from what's become now the authoritarian left, the appeal to emotion, the socialists, the communists, the anarcho-con, whatever. It's that social structure that has begun to break down because blind tolerance, blind acceptance will inevitably invite in the people that will seek to destroy or change your culture, perhaps for better, but from what we've seen, for worse. Maybe there's been some positive enrichment. I mean, yeah, I can go to any fucking Mexican restaurant now and get tacos that are way better than a fucking Taco Bell. But I mean, look at fucking I don't see too many trucks of peace here since Trump got elected.
No, and I think that would be your perfect spot there to end your closing, because we are at like 9 minutes. Jacob, go ahead. What do you think? How about you go a little bit different? He said the cause. You say the fix. How would you?
It really needs to start with the community. That's where it needs to be solved. People need to get in touch with each other, learn who their neighbors are, and what they can do to make their small part of society better. That's really how I see can really truly affect things. We can't go into the media and change things ourselves. They won't allow it. They'll just kick us out.
And that's why we should fight against censorship so heavily.
Which I do. Jacob, anything else that you want to spit out there real quick?
As far as that goes, more or less, me and Doku are on the same point. Pretty much what he said is what I think.
That's why you guys didn't want this to be a debate. Fair enough. Yeah. It would have been pretty one-sided. Farty, I'm going to let you say what's on your mind for a couple minutes as we wrap up the show here. I keep cutting you off. Go ahead. You got a couple minutes. Go for it.
Well, I only got something that'll take a couple of seconds. I don't think we can ever go back to the point where our grandparents rumble in their graves while they're rolling around and around in circles. Will ever be reversed.
All right, that was short and sweet.
It's kind of nihilistic.
Hey,
on the nose.
Yeah. Memes of destruction, man. Back up, frustrated atheist here. He's not able to do the job, and you said you'd be his tag team partner. Go ahead.
Well, here's the thing here, man. It's if you want to look at how a lot of this stuff kind of comes about. It's like, if folks are pushing for things, and for many years you didn't really hear about much pushback, and it's just, yeah, there's always a different factor of there, but you look at what's going on, dude. I think this happens because most folks are good people, and they're like, well, this sounds pretty good. And if you don't have fully accurate information, you can't make the best decision. If you're only getting one particular side of the story, that's why you should always get multiple sources. This is what they trained to do at MD. Aren't they going through this right now, like in school? It's like, yeah, you cite sources so you can actually back up what you say. And we just seem to have gone away from it.
Oh, actually, though, memes, I want to throw in there, since you brought up me going to school. When I wrote my fucking paper today, I used a George R. Martin fucking quote from Tyrion.
Nerd.
Just saying, I think you would appreciate that. Penoid.
Yeah. Look, it was the destruction of marriage and the family that caused the downfall of our fucking society. Now, I'll give you two real quick points. One, kids are showing up to kindergarten and first grade without being able to use the motherfucking bathroom, and teachers are having to change diapers. We put entirely too much weight on the fucking government. We killed God, replaced it with government, and we expect that to be our fucking moral authority. And really, the government ain't nothing but us people. And if we can't really choose for ourselves, and the government's nothing but us, we're really leaderless, and that's what the fucking situation.
Yeah.
I tend to agree with Penoid on this.
Same.
Well, thank you.
I mean, like, you can't blame the news media or any of the bullshit. Fuck all that, dude. Look, it's a fact that we don't have intact fucking families anymore. You want to do away with it, do away with welfare, and repeal the goddamn 19th Amendment, and all this shit will fucking disappear.
These are systems. Well, these are systems.
What I said before, parents are the primary instructor.
There you go. You know what I mean? It's like, rappers back in the day, like, Tupac said back in the day in his fucking song, he said, look, he said, I got advice from my father. All he told me was this, nigga, get off your ass if you plan to be. Look, they used to stand here and tell you, look, as a man, this is what you're supposed to be. There's no men left. They're all gone.
So
what the fuck you gonna do?
Because this is a very dark situation that's just been painted in the
Repeal the 19th Amendment, all right? You know what I'm saying? Repeal the 19th Amendment, end welfare. You end welfare and child support. How about this? End welfare and child support, and you take away the incentives to motherfucking be divorced.
Yep.
Oh, well.
Also, that was kind of the point I was making when I said there's a bunch of parents who let the public schools raise their kids, and then they barely do any parenting themselves, and then they turn around to make their kids happy. They want to buy them this toy, but you want the $100 fucking Lego set, not the $50 one. They turn around, throw a fucking temper tantrum, they get it.
That's more of a replacement for what they. That's more them going and buying their kids toys is more or less of a sense of guilt for not being with their kids a lot.
But as
it really is.
Before too, it's like the teachers won't even teach the kids how to fucking cross the road properly, so you can't even trust them cunts either.
Why do you think you have all these leftists running around? You know what I'm saying? You have all these leftists running around because the schools are full of fucking leftists, and you're letting them raise your goddamn kids.
Here's the thing. What I think's kind of going on. So, Tom, number one, that's a great troll for certain communities. Number two, I think what's kind of going on here is just as far as everything with like a lot of like these relationships and stuff. Like back in the day, yeah, your parents were like, hey, be careful. Traffic will kill you. It's just, these are certain things that you just went over, like when you were learning to ride a bike and like actually go outside and just, again, like I think a lot of folks here, we may be part of like the last generation that like, we remember what it was like to be bored. And now like you just have multiple stimuluses. If in the past 15 years, the average adolescent has gone from a 12-second attention span to an 8-second attention span, we're literally starting to live the mimetic of, ooh, shiny. Dude, I find myself doing this as well, dude. Dude, I think we're literally like molding like our neuroplasticity to some level of just like, we're absorbing this in, dude. We're adapting to what's around us, dude. And,
you have one yet?
It's good.
Yeah, I got you. I got to peel out, man. Like, fucking, I wanted to break in and tell you all that because, like, I feel like everybody's kind of missing the motherfucking point.
Well, definitely the destruction of the nuclear family has had a negative impact. There's
no
denying that.
No, it's a central unit and stuff. Like, because like as long as you had a good family unit, man, like you would get through a lot of shit if you were going through some tough times and everything. And it's like, dude, I was incredibly blessed during my freaking life. It's like, yeah, you still run into some hurdles and shit, but it's like, it's one of those things where, like Jacob was saying before too, it has to come like within the community and everything. And this is one of those things that I've kind of noticed, and it's made me go about a lot of things, because a lot of the folks, or like a lot of stuff that I'm hearing here is stuff coming from within the community, the folks that you know, the folks that you see every day, like people helping people helping someone out, whether it's just shoveling the driveway of like the little old lady that lives next door or something. You're helping out, and you can say it's the greater good or whatever you want. It's just people helping people. And I think a lot of the folks that many people here disagree with, they end up coming saying, well, no, the federal government needs to take care of things. And it's like, whoa, hold on. You ain't from around here. What's going on? And I'm like, a lot of folks want the same outcomes. We're just arguing over the means of doing it. And that's definitely a fair thing to argue.
Well, you know what? I want to end my final statement on this. How do you keep a population that's easy to control and isn't necessarily going to challenge specifically government? Well, you keep them too busy working 9 to 5, trying to make ends meet, create single-parent households, let the state raise the kids, and they believe everything they get in fucking 60 minutes on the news. They don't have time to see the larger paradigm shift in society. They don't question. They're too fucking busy trying to live. They're trying to survive.
Well, that and drugs and porn help.
Well, drugs and porn.
Okay, all right, finally. It's not fucking red. Discord's been fucking with me. Real quick. Jensen, you've been silent the whole time. Your take on everything, and then Optimus and Rap.
Well, mine's simple. If you think society is this shit, I'm going to point out it is going to get worse.
Of course.
Yeah.
All right.
And the thing for me is, we don't really want a society where the schnozberries don't taste like schnozberries.
Oh my god.
Or do
we? You know what? I feel like I'm being left out here because I don't get what you're saying, man. So you can throw shit at me for not knowing what the hell's going on right there.
Watch the beginning of Super Troopers, you'll understand.
All right. So want to end already, man?
Oh, we thought we were off.
All right, no, thank you everybody for. Okay, I can finally talk. No, my internet's going in and out, guys. Thank you everybody for coming out. Check out the show a little bit later. Doku, what time is the simulcast? Let everybody know, and we'll get out of here.
We'll be starting in an hour, and it'll be the Rotten Tomatoes Friday night drinking game. So get your beers and your booze ready.
Oh shit!
I'm not legal. Not old enough.
No,
well, you can still play along anyways. Well, you're going to have it worse today.
I'm not old enough. All right. All right.
By the way,
thank you. Good night. Good luck.
Yes, and everyone have a good one.
Babies.